Xbox is not having a good time. In fact, it's pretty much burning down to the ground.
Thankfully today we got some answers, as several top Xbox executives sat down to explain what was actually going on with this company during their recent podcast.
Nothing good. A lot of copium, though. A lot of copium. A lot of angry fanboys. A lot of fanboys in denial also. And, again, nothing good.
You followed all of that leak news, what was going on there. Almost all of that was wrong or just outright overblown, at least for now. What's actually going on is this.
So we made the decision that we're going to take 4 games to the other consoles. Just 4 games. Not a change to our kind of fundamental exclusive strategy. We're making these decisions for some specific reasons.
So of course, the immediate next question you'll probably...
Okay, so... obviously, this is a complete lie. There is a reason why consoles want exclusive games. And the reason consoles want exclusive games is because if you get people to buy your console, which is, by the way, very important, you can get them to buy other things. In an Xbox case, it's scamming people and buying a Game Pass that you pay $250 for, play one game for free, and then tell yourself, oh my god, this is such great value, without buying the Battle Pass for, well, without not canceling my subscription and spending $250 for, in a year. I would have never been able to play this game for free one time for roughly 3 days. You're getting scammed by the Xbox Game Pass, if you have not figured out yet, by the way. At least most people are. If you're playing 10 games per year for free on the Battle Pass, okay, you're maybe getting your value, almost. But no one else is.
I have is, well, which games are going over, and sadly they don't actually tell us.
I'm not going to name those games. The teams that are building those games have announced plans that are not too far away.
The bad ones. They already gave Starfield over to PS5. I'm sure PS5's really happy that they're getting Starfield. It's the best game ever, you know? Critics rated it 10 out of 10. How could it not be the best game ever? Yeah, they're giving them the bad games because they need to kind of dilute the quality of the PlayStation 5, so this is the actual Trojan horse move.
As we know...
They're also gonna give Redfall. There's no way PS5 doesn't get Redfall.
Game teams put a lot of energy into their announcements with the partners, so...
I honestly found this to be kind of weird. Thankfully, we do get the very important clarification that neither Starfield nor Indiana Jones are going to other platforms, at least for right now. Those 2 games will remain Xbox exclusives.
But Starfield was already a what do you mean?
Later on in this video, I'll explain why I don't actually think that's going to last, and I could see this being a larger shift at Xbox.
Oh, and Indiana Jones probably is also going to PlayStation 5 because, again, it's... if you have not seen the trailer, then, well, here's the quick summary. Indiana Jones looks like your classic Bethesda 20 years old, outdated graphics, bad animation, boring gameplay, and there's literally a guy with 15 different rainbow pins telling you that this game was made for modern audiences. So you know it's gonna be woke garbage anyway.
And when it comes to not announcing the 4 games, while I do understand that respecting developers' own opportunity for reveals is important, the entire point of this podcast was to clear up misinformation. I feel like just naming the games would have been worth it rather than leading to more speculation by the fans and community.
By the way, I love when people shill for the companies. Bruh. The spokesperson for a company is telling you that everything is good, everything's going according to plan. Wow, that is so believable. It's almost like, you know, the CEO's job, the spokesperson's job for the company is telling people good things so they think it's always good and line go up. It's almost like that's their job to do so. Crazy.
Communities, although they basically confirm which games are going over, they describe how these are games that are over a year old and they feel have largely reached their full potential on Xbox, community-driven games that will now have access to a new community on those other platforms for further growth, and how 2 games are smaller titles that were never intended to be system sellers anyway, just fun projects from specific studios. So from Xbox's perspective, bringing games like this over to other platforms is not damaging their business at all, but instead it's just giving an opportunity for the communities around those games to grow go even further because they feel these games are pretty well saturated on Xbox already. On the Xbox side, it seems like Hi-Fi Rush is effectively confirmed to be going over to PlayStation and the Nintendo Switch. We could largely confirm this thanks to some of the existing data mines. And Tom Warren from The Verge reports that the other 3 games...
People spoke pretty good about Hi-Fi Rush. I never even have heard of it. I never have seen it. I think if it was something good, it's like a super niche, small thing.
Games going over are Pentiment, Sea of Thieves, and Grounded. Tom Warren was able to actually talk to Phil Spencer ahead of this news going live. And he further clarifies that at first, it'll just be Hi-Fi Rush and Pentiment, with Sea of Thieves and Grounded coming a bit later. And like, yeah, I think this all makes a lot of sense. If you keep up with Xbox and watch their events enough, you've seen all of...
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. Even if Xbox is turning games over to PlayStation 5, they're obviously gonna either turn their best games over with the idea that, hey, look at how many amazing games are on Xbox and you can play more of them, which Xbox doesn't have any of them as far as I'm concerned. And, well, alternatively, they give PlayStation the worst games, so people think PlayStation is worse because, let's be real, the average person sees a game on Xbox and they don't know if that was actually made for PlayStation and PlayStation just allowed Xbox to sell it, or the other way around. The average person doesn't know, nor the average person honestly even cares.
Of these games, you've had numerous opportunities to play Grounded and Sea of Thieves already. I mean, it literally pops up at basically every single Xbox show. I can't imagine there's many people in the Xbox community who are unaware of these titles, and considering so many people have Game Pass, they likely have reached a point where they're just not seeing that
this is the one when you're yeah, okay,
players anymore. They're relatively small but fun games that don't have a ton going on right now, so expanding them to a totally new audience to potentially generate a couple extra million does make sense. But to me, the games themselves are one of the least interesting parts about this overall presentation, and I think the reasoning as to why they're bringing these games over is far more interesting and far more telling, as I really doubt that these are the only games going over to PlayStation and the Nintendo Switch. During this podcast, they consistently reiterate the line about growing games and ensuring the long-term health of Xbox, and Phil Spencer further clarified that he believes exclusive games in general are on the way out.
Exclusive games that are exclusive to one piece of hardware, are going to be a smaller and smaller part of the game industry.
So on one hand, perhaps Xbox just views exclusives as a dying breed of games, and
that's because their exclusives fail. That's why they view exclusives as dying breed of thing, because their exclusives just failed. Okay? Everyone knows that Xbox doesn't have really good games. If you want to play games, you just buy the PS5. Or if you're not stupid, you buy the PC, because consoles are trash. But, you know, the point still stands. Exclusivity is obviously not going to be the thing that the company wants if their games are bad.
Trying to get a bit ahead of the curve by testing things out now when they think this is the direction the entire industry is going. But to me, what I found to be the most telling quote from this entire presentation was this.
4 games, no promise beyond that. So if you're on those other platforms and you see these 4 games coming, please don't take it as some signal that everything's coming. It's not. And we're going to learn.
I think this is the real explanation of what's going on. Something isn't going right at Xbox right now, at least in my opinion, and I think there's quite a few signs pointing towards that. I don't think releasing your exclusives on other platforms is sign of health from a company. If they were rolling in cash, they probably just wouldn't bother, because they're probably not going to make a ton of money from these games on PlayStation and the Nintendo Switch. And I wouldn't be shocked if somebody at Microsoft was like, whoa, you're spending a ton of money on acquisitions, and these Game Pass numbers aren't quite as high as we had hoped. So now this, bringing their games to other platforms, is their attempt at a solution, and one that just kind of works. They're bringing some of their smaller but still fun titles to other platforms just to see how much of a success it is, how much more money they could start making by some of these releases, hence that comment from Phil Spencer about how they're going to learn from this. If this ends up being a large success, like let's say they see a 30 to 40% increase in players for Pentiment, we could very easily model that for some of your other and larger games that will actually start adding in some serious revenue for Microsoft overall. So I very much so think that...
Yeah, this is gonna add a lot of serious revenue. Bro, they all... Oh man, Indiana Jones. I can't wait for Indiana Jones. It's just gonna be such an absolute disaster, it's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. I'm gonna love it.
If this ends up being a large success, it'll be a strategy they will employ more and more in the future, and very likely could reach a point where larger game releases on other platforms start to happen. We could see them switch to a timed exclusivity instead of just a full-on exclusivity. And as you do broaden the context, I think the writing was on the wall that something like this was bound to happen, particularly on the Game Pass side. We've seen the quotes about how Microsoft might exit the game business if it does not see progress in Xbox Game Pass subscribers by 2027. That made the rounds a lot last year and even a bit before then. And from this leaked document that we only got a few months ago, we could see that Microsoft/Xbox projected to have over 40 million Game Pass subscribers by 2023.
Bro, what is this? Cloud first gamers, smart TV, streaming sticks, Apple apps, and not Apple, low end PCs, limited mobile. Limited mobile? What the hell is this? Smart TVs. I have no idea what this is supposed to be.
3. During this most recent podcast.
Well, I can tell you one thing. FY means fiscal year. So, there we go. Interesting.
During this most recent podcast, it was revealed that there are currently 34 million Game Pass subscribers right now. And even that's an artificially inflated number because it includes the cheaper Game Pass Core that was previously labeled as Xbox Live Gold, but they recently switched it to Game Pass Core. So potentially a good chunk of that 34 million is not even paying a full $10 a month, and instead actually in a much lower tier, well below the 40 million target and even further below it when you account for the Game Pass Core subs.
Okay, I wonder who made this rumor, because I hear this stupid crap constantly. For example, oh, Amazon's gonna get rid of Twitch because Twitch isn't making all that making money. You're talking about the... Okay, let me explain how stupid that is. You got Twitch, the literal #1 platform for streaming, who got bought by Amazon. And now Amazon's gonna get rid of Twitch because they're not making money? Are you stupid? Do you think Did you think Amazon bought Twitch without knowing that? Do you think anyone ever just decides that, hey, we're gonna just ditch this thing that's the lead, that is a leader or one of the leading parts in a market, almost having essentially a monopoly? No, don't. Like, these ideas are so stupid. Oh, Xbox is not performing as well as it should. They're gonna just give up on gaming. No, that's stupid. That is literally stupid. Bro, I can't. It's like, no. Ideas like that are just nonsensical. It's like you're selling your house because it's not as good as you want and then just doing nothing.
I honestly think this is just a simple case of their original plan isn't paying the bills, so they're trying something else to help that out. Phil Spencer does reiterate that there's no fundamental change to how they think about exclusivity, but I think that's just for right now. The games didn't come out on other platforms yet, so of course they didn't change their plans yet. They don't have the data yet, but if they make enough money on some of those PlayStation or Nintendo Switch releases, I could see things start to change relatively rapidly. And even when it does come to something like Starfield, it seems like paid mods are really their long-term play. So eventually it's going to come a time where there's no more official DLCs coming out, and instead there'll just be a steady flow of paid mods coming to the game, and Microsoft and Xbox will collect that sweet microtransaction revenue. If that becomes the main source of revenue for the title, releasing it on some other platform does make a ton of sense because you're just going to make more of it. And the closer you look at Xbox, the more this starts to make sense. On the PlayStation side, exclusives really are a major selling point. There's a lot of fantastic games that you could only play on PlayStation, not even on PC for a lot of them. Over the past few years, in an attempt to catch up to the PlayStation sales numbers, Xbox has been adding other value adds. Game Pass makes playing many of these games far cheaper, and just in general is a subscription service perhaps providing the most value out of any subscription service currently available. You get access to
again with the stupidity that the Game Pass is good value. No, it's not. If it was good value, it wouldn't exist. What do you think a company is just gonna magically add something that actively prevents them from making money so you have to spend less? Are you really that daft? No. Again, the majority of people just buy the most expensive live service Game Pass subscription that they can. Forget about the fact that they have it. Spend $200 on it per year, which doesn't feel a lot because, you know, it only costs like $15 or something like that per month, so you don't even notice it that much. And then they play 1 or 2 games for free on that Game Pass that don't even amount to the value of $100, let's say. Yeah, that's how it works. You lose money. The Game Pass would never exist if it did not make more money than the alternative of it not existing.
Millions of hours of content just from that one subscription. During this podcast, they say that they know Game Pass will only be available on Xbox. I wouldn't be shocked if they tried to get it on other platforms like Steam or PlayStation and it just didn't work out. But if Game Pass is only on Xbox, that's a huge incentive to buy an Xbox and play. So even if the console exclusivity starts to just be a timed console exclusivity, I think the Game Pass aspect really is a nice X factor that Xbox has going for them.
This is, by the way, reused footage.
Year. As of right now, I very much so think we're just in the early stages of this. We'll likely see these games come over to the other platforms in the next few months, but it very likely will still be years after that while they process the data and interpret what's going on before we see other major moves. It could be years before some of the data is processed and any other decisions are made. But to me,
Years before the data is processed? Bruh. The data is going to be already processed in the first day, and the second day, the additional data is going to be processed, and the third day. And in a week from now, Xbox is going to have already a projection for the upcoming month. Years before the data is processed. Is he mad? Has Juicy Boy just completely lost his shit, or is he just completely inept at businesses?
One of the biggest takeaways here is something's not working at Xbox right now. They're doing this and trying something new for a reason. I don't think Xbox is about to close up shop or...
Well, to be fair, he's actually right about this. But it's also commonplace for businesses to try something new because they're already doing good and they just want to do better because there's still opportunities left, okay? I like to use Microsoft for this example. Microsoft literally turns every cent you give them into $100. They are the most effective money printing machine in the world. They are almost as close to flawless as possible. Microsoft does not fail in general broad strokes. They always win at the very end. They are a company that does everything to a sublimely high limit. And if you're now saying, but what about Stadia? Then you're completely not understanding what I'm saying, and well, maybe this video is not for you. It is what it is. And Microsoft does a lot of stuff, and they do a lot of stuff like Stadia. They have a lot of projects that fail. But the reason they do these projects, even ones that seem nonsensical and risky, is very simple. And the answer is what I said previously. The fact that they turn every cent into $100. Microsoft has the infrastructure to facilitate any kind of project that they want in these type of things. So, if they make 10 or 20 projects, and only one of them succeeds in a reasonable level, they have already made twice their money that they invested in all those 20 projects to get it, possibly. That is the reality of a company like Microsoft. This is why companies try new things, especially big ones, why they try crazy new things. Because if they are doing things properly, well, they can fail 9 out of 10 projects, have one be relatively almost good, and they're making money overall from all of that. It's just how the game works.
or anything like that, but I have to imagine that if this doesn't work, they're going to try something else. Although, separate from almost all of that, we also got some really nice PR talk around hardware.
And we got more to come.
Really nice PR talk about hardware. Be happy. When your Xbox One releases, it's gonna be still 5 years in the past from anything that's even remotely viable on, you know, PC. Good luck.
There's some
Skipping the PR
Honestly,
part.
more so than anything else, one of the biggest takeaways from all of this is how much of a disaster it's been for Xbox. If they were truly only planning to bring a few smaller titles to other platforms, I am perplexed as to why they waited so long to respond to some of these leaks and rumors. Like, yeah, as a giant company, you probably don't want to feel like you need to respond to some random spreading misinformation, but this news got really big, and I think it did do damage to the
Did it got really big? Or is this the... Wait, so was the Starfield thing fake? I don't know. A lot of people... I'm going to finish, by the way, this off. A lot of people are speculating that they're giving these exclusives over to PlayStation because of the acquisition deal of Blizzard and Bethesda that they had to go through with the CDC. No, that's not the CDC. The whatever department that, you know, tried to not allow them to do it. But if that was the case, I'm pretty sure we would just have a court order that says, hey, you need to allow your games on other platforms because, you know, monopoly things. Anyway, that's pretty much it. I'm not sure that happened. I'm pretty sure there would be a court, that there would be a visible to everyone court order of that happening, but who knows? Maybe I'm wrong. I'm not a lawyer at the end of the day. Anyway, that was Juicy Head. Crazy times. Anyway, this was also Quizzer Sid saying, thanks for watching, subscribe if you haven't already, and have a nice day. Bye-bye.